Welcome to Skip the Queue, a podcast for people working in or working with visitor attractions.
On today's episode, I'm joined by my co-host Kelly Molson, founder of Rubber Cheese, as well as a group of returning guests to the podcast. This is Kelly's last episode as the host of Skip the Queue, as she's leaving Rubber Cheese after 21 fantastic years at the agency. Today, we'll be turning the tables on Kelly as the guests ask her the icebreaker questions. We'll also be looking back at the impact the podcast has had as some of our guests share their experiences of appearing on the podcast with Kelly.
If you like what you hear, subscribe on all the usual channels by searching Skip the Queue.
So, how you doing?
I feel slightly apprehensive. You just said, like, "Are you ready? Have you got your tissues ready?" I'm like, I have. I'm prepared.
Good. So, listeners, today is a big episode. As well as being our 99th episode, it's also Kelly's last episode as the Skip the Queue host. Yeah. So, many of you will know that after 21 years heading up Rubber Cheese, Kelly has decided to spread her wings and move on to pastures new. And while this is new news for many of the listeners, I've had a few months to prepare for this. So I've been thinking long and hard about this episode and what can I do. And I thought it'd be nice to look back at some of your best bits. But I didn't feel like I should do that on my own. I actually thought the best way of looking back at your best bits are to bring your best bits back to us. So I'm just going to admit a load of people that want to join you.
Oh no!
We have got a host of co-hosts and audience members that are going to join us today.
I'm going to cry already.
Excellent. I've done my job to start with straight away. So everyone's joined us for a virtual leaving party. So I hope you've got your What's-Its in a bowl and your cheese and pineapple ready for you as we look back over some of your best bits and enjoy a Skip the Queue episode at its best. So for those of you that are listening and not watching, first of all, where have you been? These aren't faces for radio. You should be subscribing on YouTube and watch these lovely people. But if you're listening, let me introduce you to the host of people that have joined us. We've got Andy Povey from Convius. We've got Bernard Donahue from Alva. We've got David Hingley from Bot Consulting. We've got Rachel Mackay from Hampton Court Palace. Sophie Ballinger from Eureka.
You're supposed to be on holiday. Oh.
Yeah. Sophie from Eureka, the National Children's Museum. We've got Ross Ballinger from Drayton Manor. We've got Dominic Jones from the Mary Rose. And we've also been joined by some of your lovely Rubber Cheese colleagues that wanted to say hi and goodbye.
Look at everyone's beautiful faces. Oh, God.
And the tissues are going already.
Do you know what? Just before I came on, I was like, I'm not going to cry. I am completely in control of today. If it was yesterday, I would have cried, but I'm completely in control today. I am not in control at all.
Long-time listeners will know that we always start off with an icebreaker question. And Kelly never tells the guests what the icebreaker question is in advance. So I'm afraid, Kelly, it's your turn. Bernard, you're going to kick off for us today. Would you like to ask Kelly your icebreaker question?
Thank you, Claudia Wilkinman. I'm delighted to join this episode of The Traitors.
I haven't got the fringe to be Claudia. I'm sorry.
No, you have not.
Kelly, it's World Book Day tomorrow. You've received short notice. What book do you go as to work, please?
Oh, I'd have to take one of my daughter's books. So she has got this book called Oh No, George. And it's about an incredibly naughty dog he's a ginger dog with a very long nose. I would have to dress up as George because George he doesn't do himself any favours. He hopes that he's going to be good, but he can't cope with being good, and he eats all the cake and he knocks over all the tulips in the house, and he's incredibly lovable but incredibly naughty. So definitely George. That's me, right?
It was a lovely, lovely insight into your personality.
Good question.
It is a great question. I hope you're ready for a few more because we've got some of these lined up for you. So The next person that's going to join us unfortunately couldn't be here today, so they sent me a little message that we'll play now.
Hi Kelly, remember me? It's Wag here. My question to you: if every time someone clicked on a website and it made a sound, what noise would you want it to make?
This is my old co-founder. Oh, it has to be a big old fart noise, right? It has to be a big old fart noise, a real big wet one, like a whoopee cushion fart noise, please. Thank you.
So Mrs. Marden over breakfast this morning, as we were talking through what I was going to talk about, said, oh, she's just going to say wet fart, surely.
Absolutely.
She knows you so well.
This is my level.
Completely. Next up, we've got Mr. Andy Povey.
Hi, Kelly. It's been a while, so I'm very pleased to be here, but not for the reason that we are all here for. We spend a lot of time on the road, travelling around for our jobs. So my question is, what's your favourite motorway service station and why?
Someone told me that I had to ask someone this on the podcast and I refused. What's my favourite motorway service station? Oh God! I tell you what, I'm Peterborough motorway service station, because I know that I'm probably an hour from home then, so I'm nearly home. I've had a good few coffees in Peterborough service station.
I've not tried that one, I must admit.
I don't know if it's up there with like the best, but I know that I'm going to be home soon. So it feels like a good one,
isn't it? Yeah, it's a bit depressing that the favourite motorway service is the one that's closest to home for you. Thank you, Andy. Next up. So here's a surprise. Danielle Nichols from Alton Towers. You've managed to join us.
Hi. So my question to you, Kelly, is you've worked with a lot of attractions and theme parks over the years, but which is your favourite theme park attraction or ride that you've ever been on?
Oh, this is not a good question to ask, is it? Because I'm gonna upset people.
You can be diplomatic about it.
My favourite ride. Oh my God. Definitely not those ones that swing and literally make you want to vom. The worst. My favourite ride. Okay, so I've got to go. I've got to go big one. It's really hard. Yeah, it's really hard. Well, I was just trying to think of like where do I go with this? But I'm going to go with the one. It's mine. It was mine and my dad's favourite when I was a kid, and it doesn't exist anymore, which is really sad. But it's the Back to the Future ride at Universal, which was absolutely epic. I can remember years ago queuing up like 4 times on the trot to go on it with my dad, and it was just brilliant, absolutely obsessed. I mean, I love 80s movies. It's like my genre anyway, but yeah, that ride was absolutely incredible.
Oh, that's amazing. I never got to do that one, so very, very jealous.
Okay, good memories.
Paul Griffiths, can you take the floor and give Kelly a grilling?
Of course. Hi, Kelly. Good to see you and good to see everyone else. We know that you love picking up souvenirs and knickknacks on your travels, particularly attractions. So what is your favourite souvenir you've taken away from one of your best tourist attractions?
I've got them all here. Look at them. I've got my bounty on my desk.
The show and tell answer then.
Isn't it? Look, I've got okay. What's my favourite one though? My favourite.
So for listeners that can't see you,
you can't see this. Sorry.
Dodgy 80s ice cream box.
This is my 80s it's B-Jam economy vanilla ice cream tub. Which my parents were obviously really keen on feeding us well as a child. But in it are, hundreds and hundreds of rubbers that I've collected from different places and attractions over the years, and they smell. I wish this was smell-o-vision because they absolutely smell divine. There's so many in here, but I think again this is for memories. I'm going to go with this one, and it's really old. This is my Thorpe Park rubber.
Yeah, classic.
Isn't it great? So it's got the Thorpe Park rabbit on it.
Rangers, is it?
The Thought Park Radio. Yeah, Thought Park Radio. Thought Park. So that was probably the closest attraction to the closest theme park to me as a kid. And we used to go there a lot. And my uncle used to take me there in the summer holidays. Like the whole family used to go. So that one has got really good memories. That's a great question, Paul. There's so many in here though that I could have chosen.
I didn't know you had them all to hand though. That's taken me by surprise.
They've sat on my desk. Good.
So I promised you that we would try and faithfully stick to the format once you hand the baton to me. So I'm going to give you a breather from being grilled by everybody. What was your unpopular opinion that you wanted to share with everybody?
Peas are the food of the devil. Peas taint everything that they touch. Sometimes nobody tells you that there's peas in stuff on the menu as well. Like, I love a fish pie. Fish pie is delicious. When you open up a fish pie and someone's gone, oh no, we'll just throw a handful of peas in there just for a laugh. That's not fun. You can pick them out of stuff, but you can taste them in absolutely everything that they are in. There you go. Peas.
Mate, that's not an unpopular opinion. That's just a fact. I don't know how everybody else feels about peas, but I'm a pea hater as well.
What about cheesy peas?
No.
Say what?
No.
Cheesy peas.
Even cheese would not make peas taste appealing to me.
What, wasabi peas? What about wasabi peas?
No.
Minty
peas. No peas. No. I like beans. Beans are okay. And like edamame beans, which I like peas, but no, not peas. It's just a very distinct difference.
Nurse, she's out of bed again.
Where do you stand on mushy peas?
So far from mushy peas.
Who knew that we were so
I did have to
alike?
cook them once for Lee's old granddad. Oh, God. No.
Guacamole as who was it? It was one of the politicians went and
Peter Mandelson.
There we go. Peter Mandelson went into a fish and chip shop and asked to have guacamole with his fish and chips, and it turned out it was mushy peas.
I'd eat guacamole with my chips. That's fine.
So should we go back to grilling you on some?
This whole episode is just awkward questions for me, is it? Great.
You've done this to everybody for 99 episodes. It's your turn to take one. Rachel Mackay from Hampton Court Palace. Welcome.
Oh.
I'm decided to go against the grain. I'm not going to ask you a Eurovision question because I know you'll just stare blankly at me anyway. So I'm going to go more general. What is your preference? Running shoes or dancing shoes?
Oh, dancing shoes. Dancing shoes all the way. I really miss dancing. You don't get to dance enough when you get older. Mm-hmm. Dancing's the one thing that I used to really love doing with my friends.
I thought you would say dancing shoes because also it gives you a bit of a heel.
Which I need.
So the dancing shoes,
you're absolutely right.
You'll be able to get them back out again soon because what, ED's 2 now, 2 and a bit. It will soon be birthday party season where you'll be doing the hokey cokey and you'll be doing the conga. And
mate, she's already got all my moves. She's in the dancing zone.
Excellent. So next up, we've got somebody else that couldn't join us today. So they've sent us another little video to share with you. So this is Simon Addison from the Roman Baths, and number 2 in the Alva top 10 paid attractions outside London, might I say. Sorry, Dominic. Simon
he deserves it. He deserves it. He's a great guy, and so's the Roman Baths.
Exactly. You haven't heard what he says yet.
Hey Kelly, it's Simon Addison here from the Roman Baths. I'm really sorry that I couldn't be with you for the recording today. Before I ask you my icebreaker question, I just wanted to tell you about the impact that Skip the Queue is having, not just on those people who work in visitor attractions, but those who visit them too. Last month, I was walking around the National Portrait Gallery with Dominic Jones, and a visitor genuinely pulled him over and asked him if he was Dominic Jones from Skip the Queue. Kelly, you have created an absolute monster there.
So,
that is actually true. It actually happened. We were a bit bemused by it and were worried that someone had set this visitor up, but they genuinely wanted a career in visitor attractions and had listened to it, and I'd obviously said my name a bit too loud to Simon, and they came up and asked for a picture. It was completely random, but brilliant.
Oh, I'm a little bit heartbroken because I actually genuinely thought they spotted the face and knew you from the YouTube.
I think it was the voice, but yeah, no, it was brilliant. It's all because of Skip the Queue, which is, Simon's right, it's had a massive impact on everyone in our industry and actually people who want to join our industry. So you should be really proud, and hopefully that's the last random stranger that stopped me, but it was fantastic.
Do you know what? I do feel really proud of that.
So really Simon's question.
Kelly, my icebreaker question for you is, what is the weirdest piece of advice that you've ever received, and did you follow it? Thanks very much, Kelly, and thanks for everything. Thanks for all the episodes over the years, and I wish you the very best of luck with everything.
I'm trying to think of what has been weird. Do you know what? I have been given some advice about public speaking before, which I thought was quite strange. I used to get really anxious about public speaking. It wasn't something that was massively comfortable for me, and I had loads of coaching from a really good friend of mine, Andy Laparta. And I don't know if it was Andy. I don't think this was Andy that gave me this advice. I'm pretty sure it wouldn't have been. But someone told me that if you go on stage and you clench your butt cheeks, you can't actually clench anything else at the same time. And I'm like, I am though. I'm clenching my butt cheeks now and I'm clenching my teeth. So you can. But that's always stuck in my head. So I definitely tried it, but I don't know that it helped with my speaking whatsoever. I'm doing it now. Is everyone doing it now? Is everyone trying it? Everyone's doing it.
At the standing desk practicing it right now.
Yeah, if I start bobbing up and down in my seat, you'll know why.
There you go.
Lovely segue. Sophie Ballinger from Eureka. Why don't you ask Kelly your icebreaker?
Hello,
my love. Hello, Duck.
I've got a bit of a random one. I think I might even have asked you this in the agency interview many years ago, but I'm not sure because it's one of my favourites. Who would win in a fight between a badger and a baboon?
I don't remember you asking me this.
Should have done.
Badger. I think badger. Badgers are quite vicious, aren't they? You think baboons? Everyone's shaking their head. No, I think badger. I've never seen a live badger either, but I know that they're quite vicious.
We went to South Africa a few years ago and we stopped because we saw a troop of baboons on the side of the road and there were other people watching. So everybody got out their cars and they all stood around. And all of a sudden, this alpha male baboon just crosses the road to the car behind us, opens the back door, gets into the woman's handbag and is rifling through trying to find chocolate. And she sat in the front seat going absolutely crazy. So I promise you, it'll be the baboon. So next up, we've got another video joining us. This time it is Elizabeth McCabe, CEO of London Transport Museum.
Hi, Kelly. You were the nicest interviewer I ever had. So my question for you is equally nice, I hope. So when you're getting around London, what's your favorite mode of travel? Is it tube, bus, or cycle?
Oh, I actually prefer to walk. So neither of the above. I know, I'm sorry. So I have to get the train in. So my train is the Liverpool Street line. So I tend to get off, I'll go to Liverpool Street and then I quite like to walk places. I do like the tube. I'm not gonna diss the tube, especially not to Elizabeth. But I quite like the opportunity to go and see stuff. And I think walking around London, everything's so close together, so it's nice to be able to just walk and see things that you wouldn't normally
Trainers in the backpack.
Yeah.
Can I just point out that I've seen Kelly getting out of a disco rickshaw at least 3 times in the last 6 months.
Fake news.
Now, Kelly, you did say to me that you had a few thank you messages that you wanted to share with people. So do you want to just have a couple of minutes to thank some people?
Yes, I would. I would like to thank everybody because I think people have always been so incredibly generous with their time for me. And I'm always so grateful of that. You're generous to come on and talk to me. You're generous to come on and answer my ridiculous questions, but generous to share all your insight and knowledge. And I think especially through the pandemic, that meant an incredible amount to me, and hopefully to our listeners as well. It really felt like people were coming on and sharing kind of a a real time, this is where we're at, this is what's happening, and this is what we're doing about it experience. And it was amazing. The pandemic was incredibly difficult for everybody. But for me, the highlight was knowing that I was getting to speak to so many different people and being able to share that with other people as well. And it made it a really special time for me. So thank you for everybody that has ever come on the podcast and answered my stupid questions and shared all of their stuff with me. Thank you. Thank you to all of the listeners. I genuinely could not have imagined how well this podcast would go. I honestly can remember the day that I came in and I was like, we should definitely do this podcast. I've been looking. I don't think there's anything like it. We should do it. And my team going, yeah, how do we do it? So I don't know. Let's just do it though. And this is what happens. I come up with these crazy ideas and I'm the driver of them, but it's all the people around me that actually make the magic happen. And that is, that's for the podcast, that's for the survey, the report, the agency itself. All I've done is just kind of drag it along and share it with people. It's all the other people behind the scenes that do it. Steve, who we talk about a lot on the podcast, works his magic every single episode. He really does. He cuts out a lot of swearing. You should the very professional introductions that I record separately to the interviews. Jesus, the amount of swearing that he has to cut out on those is ridiculous. So, well done, Steve, mate. You deserve that award-winning podcast editor title just for this. And Wenelin. So Wenelin down here waving. She really is the powerhouse behind the podcast, because I'll get you to come on. We'll have a lovely chat. It goes over to Steve for the editing, and then it comes back to Wenelin, and she does everything. She does everything. She creates all the graphics. She uploads everything to the website. She does the transcriptions. She creates she just does all the podcasts, all the scheduling, all of it. So, she really does do all the hard grunt work behind it. So thank you, Wenelin. It's been lovely to work with you over the years. Thank you.
And Wenelin wins the award for longest distance journey into the meeting today, because Wenelin is over in the Philippines. So Wenelin wins this award in every single meeting that we have. So
she does. There is one more thank you I want to make, which is to the unsung hero of Skip the Queue. So it's for an old team member of mine, Ashley Mays. Because if it wasn't for her, actually, there probably wouldn't be a Skip the Queue. She made this happen, really. Not only did she come up with the name, but she actually got one of our first guests to agree to come onto the podcast, because I can't tell you how difficult that first season was. If you've ever gone back, it actually launched in July 2019, this podcast. And myself and my co-founder, Wag, who asked a ridiculous question I answered with a fart earlier, we both used to interview guests. But if you've ever tried to get someone to come onto a podcast and they go, great, yeah, how many listeners and downloads have you got? And you're like, none. Absolutely none. No listeners. You are our first guest. Please help us make something magic. That was quite a hard sell. Ashley had a family member who agreed to come onto the podcast. And it was actually Lynn Whitnell, who is the director of Paradise Wildlife Park, which is now Hertfordshire Zoo. She was the biggest name that we could have possibly hoped for in that first series. So really, that was the kind of catalyst for all of the other amazing guests that have come on since. 2019 was a really tough year for Rubber Cheese. And I had to let Ashley go at the end of 2019. And I'll tell you now, that was the single worst thing that I've ever had to do in my whole career as an agency owner, because she was fucking brilliant. And I felt like I'd failed her at that time. So I really wanted to make sure that she got a big thank you. She's gone on and done brilliant things. Don't get me wrong, brilliant people always do. But that was genuinely the toughest thing that I've ever had to do. And it's probably my biggest regret of running the agency for all of these years as well. So yeah, big shout out to Ashley. She made a big difference.
every agency owner enjoys the fun bits, the launches, the winning new business. Nobody enjoys that bit, but it's life, isn't it? So
yeah.
It was a tough time for everybody, wasn't it? And you said that Ashley came up with the name as well, didn't she?
She did. Yeah, Skip the Queue was all Ashley. I take no credit for that whatsoever.
Amazing. Amazing. Thank you for that.
What a moment. What a moment that was.
Yeah.
It was really touching.
Amazing. Keep it together, mate. You've still got a few minutes to go.
Okay.
So let's segue for some light relief to Ross Ballinger from Drayton Manor.
God, now I'm not gonna lie, I'm really apprehensive about this, Ross. Hi, Ross. Hey, Beard King.
It's so nice to see and hear you. I feel like
likewise, mate.
I've only known you like a short space of time, but you were such a champion for me and Danielle when you spotted us at the Theme Park Awards a few years ago. And we're just so grateful for that. You spotted our passion and our energy for the industry, and obviously we just gravitated toward each other. Everything you've done for all the other professionals in the industry as well. So true testament to everything that you've done. It's all paid off, and everyone loves you. And thank you so much for everything on Skip the Queue. No, honestly, I think that was probably one of the best years I ever had in the industry, really, because it did stem up a couple of things did fall out at the back of it, because it got me a little bit of 15 minutes of fame, which I really enjoyed. And then I managed to do some presentations for different things, and I owe credit to you, really, for just putting us in the limelight for a little bit.
I'm so pleased. I'm so pleased. No. I just want to tell the story, because I met the two of you at the UK Theme Park Awards. It was at Drayton Manor, wasn't it? And these guys were on the table behind me, and I've never heard such enthusiasm. You two were it was a tough crowd, wasn't it? Everyone was quite subdued in there, but you two were shouting and just
literally every time anyone won, even if it was Pleasure Beach or anyone, we were like, yeah, go on, guys.
This was what an awards do should be like. You two were the persona of an awards do. It was so good to meet you that day. I had the best day meeting you two, and I just knew that I had to get you both on the podcast. And you were such a little dream team at Drayton Manor, and now you've set off on your different paths. But it's lovely to see. For me, it's really I think it's brilliant to see where you're all going and what the good things that you're doing.
Thank you.
That's really kind.
It was just one of those cases of sat in the right place at the right time, and the rest is history. Loved it. Loved meeting you on that day. Instant connection. When you just get an instant connection with someone who just shares the same energy and passion and insight, and they understand what you're doing and what you stand for. It was a really good day. Loved it.
Yes.
My icebreaker question, I did have 4 actually, so I don't even know if Paul knows what I'm going to ask, to be honest.
Well, I'm taking the other 2 that you did send me, because they were awesome.
Yeah. I'm going to go with, if you could switch lives with any fictional character, who would it be? I don't know if that's...
It's a really good question. You need to... You've wrote all these down, right? This is a good one.
Yeah.
With any fictional character. I'm trying to think of all the books that I've I'm just thinking about. Well, okay. I've completely forgotten his name in the book, but I've got this thing about reading. If you go on holiday, I like to take a really familiar book with me on holiday that you've read a million times. And I don't know why I've read The Beach a billion times, which is far better than the film, far better than the film. And I can't actually remember the guy's name in it now. It's gone off my head, but the Leonardo DiCaprio character in the book. I will swap lives with him, because I feel like that whole traveling culture, I never got to do that. I wasn't brave enough to do that when I was younger, and I'd really like to go and do it now, but it's really difficult with a toddler.
No, Not brave enough to do that, but you were brave enough to jack it all in and set up an agency 20 years ago.
Yeah, yeah. Should
Yeah,
I have done the travelling? Who knows? But yeah, I think I would swap places with him, although he goes a little bit crazy towards the end.
No, that's a good answer. Thanks for your long-lasting impact on us all. So thank you very much.
Well said, Ross.
Love you.
Cracking job. So I'm going to take that and segue off quite nicely now to a video from your greatest fan, my daughter, Miss Amelia Marden.
Really?
She wanted to be part of this, but she's busy at school today. So she sent you in a question and she said,
"Hello Kelly, I've seen the video of the roller coaster you and Dad went on at Drayton Manor. My question is, what is your favourite sort of roller coaster? Vertical drop or a loop-the-loop? Love you, from Amelia."
For listeners, I kept it together on that roller coaster, didn't I? There was no noise. I was completely composed. Everything was fine until it started moving at the beginning.
So was this? No, hang on a minute. Was this the? This was in the Viking. This was the Viking one, wasn't it? Because we've been on 2 roller coasters together, and the second one it was in the rain, and there was a lot of screaming in my ear as well. The first one was
screaming like
relatively,
a marine.
Yeah. The first one was relatively screamy as well. What is my favourite? I like the shock of a drop. I do like a loop-the-loop. I'm cool with those, but there's something about like there's a motion sickness thing with me that is a bit. Ugh. So the drop one I quite like. Again, this has got another good memory with my dad. Is Terror Towers. He loves the Terror Towers drop. So much so that my dad's got this thing in his head about taking Edie to Disney. Like my dad, bless him, when she's 5, he'll be like 76. So, he's getting on and he's like, that's my cut-off point. We're going to go to Disney when she's 5, whether we all like it or not, because I can't do it any older than that. And he's like, we're going to go on Terror Towers, aren't we, Dad? And I'm like, I don't know if you should, Dad, if I'm honest. I feel like maybe it would trigger up a heart attack. I don't know. A bit worried. But he's adamant that he's going to go on.
Edie's 5 and we're taking her on Terror Towers.
I don't think that's going to work, Dad.
I think we need to set Dad's expectations. There's teacups and it's a small world, and that's about it.
Yeah, I'll have that chat with him.
We have got a message in from the chat that we will patch in as video later on from Mr. David Hingley.
So I sit in a lot of meetings with Kelly, either in person or online, in her role as a trustee at Museum of the Broads. And it's usually not as dramatic as it might be. We talk about steamboats, coal, and our upcoming Peat exhibition, which is fascinating, but can lack a bit of drama. So my question is, if every time you enter a room for the rest of your life, a piece of entrance music plays, what piece of music are you choosing and why?
Oh my God, I've never thought about this question. This is a great question. Why is everyone giving me really good questions now that I'm leaving, you idiots?
David is promising to play this at every future trustees meeting as you arrive. He'll have Spotify on the phone ready to play.
What would be my entrance music? I feel like it's got to be something dancey where I can get my groove on. So I feel like this. Loads of people have probably already said this, but I feel like Here Comes the Hot Stepper would be a good one for me, because I can jive in. Here come the hot stepper.
I'll record the next trustee meeting, Museums of the Broad, and circulate it to this group.
Oh, please do.
I'll
tell you what, I'll do it at the AGM. I'll dance in at the AGM.
So last up, we have Mr. Dominic Jones from the Mary Rose, who, along with Portsmouth Historic Dockyard, the 3rd most popular paid attraction outside of London in the Alva list released yesterday.
Yes, very happy about that. Very happy.
I can take you one better, because still the undisputed most listened to podcast guest on Skip the Queue as of yesterday.
Yeah.
Wow. I honestly can't believe that.
I know. It's not as if you haven't dined out on that fact several times.
He doesn't like to talk about it, Paul.
He's so shy, doesn't he?
I am shy. I don't talk about myself. That's incredible. What did you say? Number 1?
Number 1 by country mile, I might say.
Yeah, by nearly 100 downloads, actually.
Oh, well, that's fantastic. I'm absolutely honoured about that. I have to say, I am so sad that Skip the Queue with Kelly is coming to an end, because it's kept me company on many a motorway journey, on many a day when I've had a really tough day at work and thought, you know what's going to cheer me up is Skip the Queue, because not only do you motivate and inspire the next generation, like the person that sort of bumped into me and Simon, but you also motivate, inspire all of us. And actually, without Skip the Queue, and to be fair, Alva as well, I don't think I'd have this amazing network of friends and colleagues that really keep me sane in some of the tough times. So I know we often talk, and Bernard talks about how visitor attractions are like sort of the fourth emergency service. I would say when it comes to working in a visitor attraction, you and Alva, so Skip the Queue and Alva are the emergency services, because without you, I don't think we'd be sane. So absolutely, you've made such a difference to my personal life, and I can't thank you enough. But for an icebreaker question, one of the things that irritates me on Skip the Queue is you can tell who's Kelly's favourites are. So if she has someone from the zoo and she likes them, what's your favourite animal? Or someone from a theme park, what's your favourite ride? And then she gets people that she just asks really difficult icebreakers. So I was thinking, how can I get the most random, hardest icebreaker? And then I was trying to remember, but when I was a child in the 80s and 90s, growing up, a lot of my friends had Sky TV. We couldn't afford Sky TV. We had BBC One and BBC Two. And on Sky TV, there was this thing called WWF. Now, this was before the internet, so I went to the library and worked out that it was about looking after animals. Turns out it wasn't. It was actually wrestling. And so I used to sort of in the playground talk to my friends, but never ever watching it, never really understanding it. So I'd be in my bedroom. I was very young at the time, pretending to be a WWF wrestler. I was the praying mantis because I did watch BBC Two a lot. And it's one of the very strongest animal in the animal kingdom. But if you were a wrestler in the WWF, what would be your wrestling name and
I used to love the wrestling.
I bet you did.
I did. We went. So they did the one in the UK. They did the Royal Rumble, and I had the finger and everything. Yeah. I used to like the Bushwhackers and Rowdy Roddy Piper and Jake the Snake.
Oh, see, I never saw
I was
it.
I was really into it. Yeah, I was not cool at school at all. I was well into the wrestling. So what would be my wrestling name?
Yeah, and why?
Oh, God, the trouble is, I'm a bit of a lover, not a fighter. So don't think that I'd actually make a very good wrestler. I'm not actually that aggressive. Paul's looking at me as if I've said something crazy then. No, I'm not a fighter. I might have a fiery temper, but I'm not a fighter. Oh God, I don't know what rhymes. Like Kelly's a really rubbish name to rhyme stuff with. Kick-ass Kelly. It's rubbish, isn't it?
It's good. That'll do.
Okay. Kick-ass Kelly. Yeah, I don't know. What would be my costume? Like that's question. There'd definitely be some neon in there. I feel like I'd be like the 80s girl, like neon leggings and leg warmers and stuff. Yeah,
and maybe some fire in the background as well, just to spice it up. Yeah,
maybe.
I reckon there's got to be some cheese in there as well. You need some cheese in that wrestler name, don't you?
There's not many cheeses that like rhyme with Kelly either. K.
No.
Answers on a postcard, please.
Exactly.
Oh, the worst ever icebreaker. I've ruined it.
It's a good question.
Oh no!
I like it.
Oh, I should have done. What's your favourite boat? That's what I should have done. Oh,
come on then.
What's my favourite boat? Well, it would have to be the Falcon or the can't remember the name of the other one.
Well, the other one.
My head. Is it the Marsh Harrier?
That's the one.
There you go. At the Museum of the Broads. He is a wonderful museum. You can also take your family out on a little boat trip. It's also dog friendly as well. Bring all your friends.
Great plug in one of your recent episodes. I was listening and thought about booking a holiday. It was a great plug in the last episode you did.
Well, if you do fancy a little holiday trip to Norfolk, there's a little holiday cottage that you could hit me up for, Dominic. So just, let me know.
Absolutely.
I reckon I should have got 20 quid in my pocket every time you mentioned that guest house.
I really hope that someone books someday and they're like, we heard it on Skip the Queue. Yes. Worked.
They'll insist on a discount.
They might get one.
Thank you, Dom. That was amazing. If any of our listeners would like to support any of the other guests and boost their listener figures to compete with Don, I'm going to put the details of everybody's episodes in the show notes. Because frankly,
why would you do that? What?
That's mean.
Why would you do that? Surely this is the end now. This is the end.
We've talked a load of nonsense, and I need to put something in the show notes. So I thought I'd put the episodes that everybody was in on the show notes.
Can you exclude one, Paul?
Oh, I'm sure I can. Yes.
I think yours is okay, Andy. I wouldn't exclude it. Yours was a great one.
So they'll all be in the show notes. Lastly, all of our guests are asked to pick a book that they love. So Kelly, what's your book?
This book, I read this book right at the very start of my agency journey. Very good friend of mine who's been a coach of mine for a number of years said that you should read this book. And it is How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie. It's a very old book, but it is a classic. And this book opened my eyes and ears. So it really taught me how to understand and listen to people. And I think for me, building an agency like we have over the years, so much of that comes down to listening to people, understanding what their challenges are. You know, we have to network. You know, a lot of what we do is based on reputation and how likable you can be and all of those kind of things. And this book really gives you an understanding of that, about what it is to be likable. And you shouldn't have to teach this shit to people. Like, really, it's pretty common sense. But you know, it can be difficult for people to understand, like, why you should listen to people and why you should just let people talk. And I think a lot of the things that I learned from this book, I have applied to the podcast. So I just want to read out a little synopsis. Some of the things that I think are really important about how you listen to people. And it's about becoming genuinely interested in other people. And I hope that has come across in this podcast, because every single person that has come on and shared with me has just given me so much to think about, and I've learned so much from you all. It teaches you to smile. Like, smiling is just so important. I've always been amazed at how many people that don't smile back when I smile at them when I'm out walking the dog in the morning. Like, just smiling is the simplest thing that you can do for someone to connect with somebody. Remembering people's names, you know, remember that a person's name to that person is the most important sound in any language. You know, make sure that you can just remember people's names. Be a good listener, encourage others to talk about themselves. And I hope that I've done that. I've always hoped this podcast, you know, it's not about me. It won't be about Paul. It will be about all the guests that come on and still continue to come on and talk to us about their stories and their challenges and their initiatives and all the brilliant things that they do. And I hope that I have gone above and beyond in making other people feel important. And I hope I've been sincere in doing that as well, because it is all about you. You all make this podcast amazing. And I genuinely am so grateful that you've allowed me into your ears and allowed me to share everybody else's stories in a really fun way. So thank you.
Kelly, that was really, awesome. Listeners, if you'd like to win Kelly's book, then head over to the show announcement on X and retweet us saying, I want Kelly's book. That just leaves me to say that we are busy planning season 6 now. Wendell and I met yesterday with Oz to start brainstorming ideas for what we can do in season 6. If you've got ideas, then send them in. Let us know on Twitter. We'd love to hear those. X, I should say. If you would like to appear in an episode, let us know, because I'd love to interview people. So let us know if you'd like to come onto the podcast. That would be amazing. That's about it from all of us here today. So I want to thank my lovely co-hosts, the Skip the Queue alumni. I want to thank the rest of the Rubber Cheese team that came along as well. I want to thank you, Kelly, for everything that you've done for us. And thank the lovely listeners. I look forward to seeing you all in the next episode of Skip the Queue.
Thank you so much. This is amazing. Thank you.
Thanks for listening to Skip the Queue. If you've enjoyed this podcast, please leave us a 5-star review. It really helps others find us. And remember to follow us on Twitter for your chance to win the books that have been mentioned. Skip the Queue is brought to you by Rubber Cheese, a digital agency that builds remarkable systems and websites for attractions that helps them increase their visitor numbers. You can find show notes and transcriptions from this episode and more over on our website, rubbercheese.com/podcast.